Hey guys, Brian with VetteSource checking in today, finally with some fall-like weather as we get closer to October. Still a little bit warm, but not unmanageable. So this afternoon what I'm going to bring to you is a follow-up for the 2001 Corvette that we started parting out, or I started detailing last week with a few of the videos I had there. And what we're going to do today is continue on with our dismantling. Now, I didn't show you last time I was there. This is the rear differential suspension assembly, and this was actually removed separately from the car, so I had to transport this just in the back of the old truck. What I'm going to do today is separate the differential transmission from the rear suspension. That's what you're looking at right here, and detail that for you. In a previous video I detailed kind of how the suspension is assembled, but I didn't have a diff and a transmission in it to show you. Now, for those of you that aren't aware, C5 Corvettes, anything 1997 and up, Corvette-wise, has had the transmission in the back of the car, yes, in a transaxle type setup. So, looking at it here, you can see the transmission followed by the rear differential mated directly to the transmission back here. So essentially what they did is they swapped the position of the drive shaft and the transmission and stuck the transmission in the back. This piece would be going towards the front of the car right here, and this is your torque converter right here, things like that. So the piece that replaced what was known, or actually is a drive shaft, is this big old long thing called a torque tube, which is a Corvette specific item. This would be towards the front of your car. This is your output shaft coming out of the back of your transmission right there. You can see that just spins right there, and then it goes to this entire balancer section here. These are where your rear your muffler hangers, and then back here you can see it spins, and this is what connects directly to your torque converter. So this would be the flywheel assembly. You can see this one's really clean right here. A lot of times these are kind of torn up, but this would basically go, we're in the position of the typical transmission would go in a regular car. This is what goes in place. So, and it actually gives you a notice on this to help avoid damaging the composite dash panel and other components. Do not allow the drivetrain to tilt lower than reference point as shown. See service manual. So what's interesting is they actually show you on the torque tube, do not pull this thing out. This is your original position down with the rear suspension reference point. See the top of the case at the corner of the rear bumper. Rear compartment tub actually is where the even point is, because if you do, you'll bash the back of the engine into the firewall and you'll damage the firewall. So that was one of the things about this, because this is all just a solid construction from front to back. So that's why when you're actually taking these cars apart and when you're replacing the transmission, there is no room to take a U-joint or a drive shaft out and take it out piece by piece. This whole differential, transmission, and rear suspension all has to come out in one piece, and then slowly comes down to that reference point we were just showing you on that tag, and then you can disconnect the transmission from the back of the torque tube. So it's kind of interesting. In fact, some of the guys, even if you want to take the motor out, you're literally supposed to take the entire front suspension, drivetrain, everything out of it all in once and put it all back together. So it's kind of a neat the way they put these piece components together, but it did require more labor hours to get this done correctly. So what I'm going to do right now, like I said, is I'm going to detail taking this down. I'm going to go ahead and remove this transmission. There's a few bolts that hold this in place on both sides to the front of the case. Right there, there's one right in that corner. There's another couple from the other side that go this direction. Hopefully those are showing up on my camera. And I think there's one underneath, I just can't remember. And then the differential itself has two bolts back there around that corner to hold it in. So I'm gonna get set up here with my tools real quick, show you guys what I'm doing, and I'll be right back, okay? Hold tight. Alright, I'm back, and unfortunately the time of day I picked, the sun is staring me right behind my back, so I'm trying to keep my shadow out of here so you guys can see what I'm doing. First thing I'm really going to do is go ahead and take these transmission lines out of the way, and I'm going to save these because, again, these are Corvette specific items that don't work for any other car. And even though you can fab up new lines, everything about this car was actually fairly nice shape, other than being wrecked in the front pretty horribly with that ditch surfing incident. But we're going to go ahead and take these loose. And these are just basically, these are one of the anomalies. Instead of being a metric, there are 5/8 that hold these lines in place. So I'm going to get these out of the way so that we can just kind of have them out of here, so that when I take the transmission out, I'll have them there. So those can wait right there to the side. Then here, these clips here that hold these in, these are simply just pressure release clips. If I can get my right angle here from beside the truck. Probably not. That one's loose already anyway, so I don't need to worry about that. So let me climb my old bones up in here in the back of the truck so that we can get the rest of that harness out of the way. Because even again, transmission harness is specific to the Corvettes. And you'll want to save that. So, got this one not wanting to come out. So we'll focus on that in a minute. We've got this clip here. Now these clips here are kind of a pressure clip, so you push in and over and those will come out of there like that. And of course that's the last one I've got left to take out. Figures. You know, I'll work on that one in a second. So that clears us up to go ahead and get these bolts out here. And there's another one on the side here. There's another one on this side here, and I believe there's one underneath. So I'm gonna check that in a minute. So let me get set up for the next part of our operation here, and I'll be back with you guys in just a second. Okay, I've got the transmission and differential assembly in a little more of a agreeable position back here. But what I wanted to show you is that there actually is a bolt hidden way back inside of here on the bottom part of this that you got to get to, that's kind of inside the concavity of the differential. You can kind of see it right there. So I had to jack the front of the transmission up. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this off camera, because otherwise you don't want to hear me cussing and screaming trying to get that out of there. But give me a few minutes, we'll get back and we'll get the rest of these bolts off of here on camera so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, one bolt off, and you can see that's actually a stud that's underneath there with a captive bolt. But again, to their credit, the engineers did try to make it so that you could figure out a way to get to it without too much trouble. So, see if I can break these loose here by hand while I'm on camera, so you guys can see. There we go. So this one is yet another stud right here. That's on this one. And that one comes off of there. And then those are actually smaller, so I gotta get my 13 for those. Unlike the older cars with traditional crankcases, where everything was the same. It's this one here, same thing as a stud. Let me get my hand out of the way, that might help. And these, of course, are going to be, I have to take it off like this, because you can see I've got the body of the transmission in the way, so I can't get to it. Now again, you look at the way they put these bolts together. Most of the time they'll come out of there once you get them, the tension off of them, the torque off them, they'll come right out. So that's not a bad deal. So that'll come off of there. We'll get to that one, and that'll put us at 5 bolts total that hold the transmission assembly onto the front of that differential. So let me see if I have my 13 handy real quick. Yeah, I've got my 13. And there, of course, is the ever-elusive electronic brake control module that everybody's looking for. That one's in good shape if anybody needs one. I've got that one available for sale. So, let's get this off of here. Oh, and of course, I can't fit that in there. So I'll need to use my 13 box end. So give me a second to go get my tool set up. I'll be right back. Okay, with the correct extension, I'm able to get on here now past these cooling ribs and get this differential out of here, or transmission disconnected. So my next step will be to go ahead and find my way back over this again without falling in the back of my truck. And we're going to lower this back down like so. We're going to pick up just a little bit, just enough so it doesn't fall on it and kill. Yep, and fall like that. And you can see what happened already when that fell. The transmission separated from there. So I may be able to get this. Let's see. Just so happens to have my handy dandy pry bar in here. So let's get our pry bar in there and separate the transmission. There's that shaft coming out of there. There it is, children. There is the transmission disconnected. So let me clean up here real quick before transmission fluid goes spilling everywhere, and I'll be right back once I'm ready to get the differential out. Alright, back again with our last few operations we need to conduct so that we can get this differential separated. So the differential is kind of much the same way. There's not the traditional half shafts that Corvettes used to have, 96 and down. What you've got is more of a CV axle, really heavy duty CV axle. That's a really solid shaft right there that just spline fits into the sides of this differential housing, and unless you remove some things out of the way to provide some room to work here, you're not going to be able to get the differential removed. So we're going to disconnect our tie rod end. And the interesting thing about the Corvettes on these years and going forward is the tie rod is a split design, meaning you have two separate tie rod assemblies, one for either side, instead of just one whole bar all the way across. So I've already kind of loosened this one up a little bit, and then underneath here we've got a mount, the rubberized mount that holds the back of this differential in place. So I've already got those loosened up so we can get those out of there. So those are done, and those are just two 18mm bolts. Let's go ahead and finish taking off our tie rod end here. And again, this is kind of in a weird position, so unless you just use a whole bunch of extensions and universal joints, you're not going to get that out of there manually. So we'll just do it the old-fashioned way with the hand tools. The crescent wrench will hold its position for me. We've got that one loose. Let's see if we can get that by hand for now. Okay, so that one is loose right there. Kind of kick that out of there just a little bit. Kick that bad boy out. Let's see if it'll go for us. 1, 2. Let's see. I'm going to flatten flatten my threads there. So let me grab my Punisher bar again. And we're going to get right in there. You can see. Let's see if we can get that to come out. Come on. Work with me now. Truth is, we don't really need to go too far. So we've got that one loose already. There we go. You can see that starting to come out of the side there. So that shaft goes in there pretty deeply. Let's see if we can get this out. May end up having to go off on one out of camera, guys, just because I need both hands to do this. So you can kind of see the way that comes out of there. Give it one more tilt. No, I'm gonna have to go off camera, guys. So let me finish getting this taken apart, and I'll show you what our finished product looks like once we're there. Stand by, I'll be right back. All right, this side's loose. You can see that's how far in. That's heavy. That shaft goes in there, and of course we're loose right here as well. So what I'm gonna do is pull forward on this side. Not my phone completely to where I can't find it. That's the first. There we go. Okay. So we got that side out now. Hoping I'd be able to get this out of here on camera for you guys, but I may have to go ahead and go off camera one last time just so I can get this piece out of here so I don't keep dropping the phone. So give me just a second, guys. I'll be right back. Okay, she is out, and now that I've made a holy hell of a mess over here in the back of my truck, which I love to always clean up, but when you're making eggs, you gotta crack some of them, or no, when you're making, oh, that was a nice wreck. When you're making an omelet, you gotta crack some eggs, is the way the expression goes, I believe. I could be flubbering that one up. But looking here too, if you're looking at differentials for your Corvette, you can see there's your parts tag identifying GM, Getreg, and then the part number 1255, 6313, and that 3.15 in the corner is actually your gear ratio. So this would have been the performance axle ratio for the C5 Corvette automatic cars. The standard regular cars came with a 256, so the 315 was a little extra oomph off the line and gave them that. This is also what's known as a single rib differential with one cooling rib. Some of the later ones have 3 ribs coming forward to cool, extra cooling, heat dissipation. Supposedly they're stronger. I don't really see much difference in them between the two, because if you're going that fast to destroy your differential in your Corvette, you probably need to be upgrading it anyway. So just some interesting stuff to look at. This is a back inspection cover plate, so you can look at your ring gear side covers to pull off, so you can check the internals in here. The clutch packs are in here, so you can see it's a pretty stout differential as it is. But anyway, that's basically differential, transmission, torque tube removed and separated from our rear suspension. Kind of sloppy. Sorry for dropping the camera and some other things. Again, trying to do these videos one-handed, it seems to work out okay most of the time, but then sometimes we get in the weeds on this. But I do appreciate you guys watching to the end, and hope you enjoyed the video. I'll be bringing you some more teardown of that 2001 C5 parts car probably tomorrow, and we'll go from there and see what I can get squared away on it, okay? I'll check up with you guys then. Thanks again.